Us, Johnny, is fired up for a crazy weekend of Philadelphia sports. He also has to cover the college football slate as well.
Saturday, I don't know how he does it.
I don't even know how this man is going to keep his head on its shoulders. From ESPN, Kevin Negandhi. Kevin, good luck this weekend, brother.
I don't know how you do it.
It's fun. It's entertaining. I think the guys in the studio, like Booger McFarland and Dan Orlovsky, they have fun with me as I keep an eye on, the game and obviously the game that I'm covering and all of that. But listen, it's part of our ritual every October, and I'm glad that we can experience it once again with this Phillies team.
Yep, and we are cherishing it because we know there's only been like 16 of them in since 1883. So let's cherish this one.
Exactly.
Kevin, our question today for the audience, I always love asking you sort of the question of the day because I love your opinion on it as well. Is this series a legacy-defining series for this core? And I include Nick Castellanos, even though he's a platoon player, but Sanchez, Harper, Turner, Schwarber, Real Muto, Castellanos, we know they've come up short recently. So is this a legacy-defining series for this core?
Wow. I never approached it that way. I actually approached the postseason in general to be legacy-defining. So it's hard for me to say yes or no. It could be on an era, considering who can walk away, right? And this window is getting smaller and smaller each passing year. We could define it that way maybe afterwards, but to me, how I view it is we can't say if this series is, because if they were to advance, then I think we carry the same conversation. I do believe whoever wins this series wins the World Series. That's how I view it. I think it's anybody and anybody's chance. Somebody mentioned Seattle recently, and if we can get into the conversation of facing the Mariners in the World Series, I'd love to see how Seattle handles that environment in Philadelphia, but I'm not gonna jump 3 series down the road. This is going to be the toughest series I think that they'll experience the entire postseason, and if they can manage to get to the Dodgers bullpen, I think they have a good chance.
Kevin, I'll ask you what I asked Andrew and Connor earlier. Connor said yes. Andrew said no. Could you see the Phillies winning this series if they don't win the Sanchez starts?
Yes, I
can.
You
do. Okay, so you're like Connor.
I do.
Tell us why.
I do believe that. To me, it's just because their bullpen, the Dodgers' bullpen isn't that great. And now they've come on a little bit, but like if you see those 2 games against the Reds in the 8th inning, it was like, whoa, there's a chance here for the Phillies. And let's not forget how the Dodgers approached Shohei Ohtani this entire season with him coming back as a pitcher. They never sent him down. So he basically rehabbed on the major league level. So as a result, this summer, he went 2 innings, 3 innings, and then as a result, you have the bullpen coming in. The domino effect played a huge role for the Dodgers in the second half of the season because they were logging so many innings. I think that plays out to the Phillies' favor, that if they can keep it close, if it's a 2-0 or 2-1 game through 6, and then the Phillies can do something on the back end against the bullpen, I think the Phillies have a chance. But I will always say this. It's a theme. It is something we saw against the Astros after they had that monster 5-home run night. Afterwards, it's a theme we saw with the Dodgers. It's a theme we saw with the Mets. If the back end of this lineup does not hit and we are still relying on the first 3 guys, it will be a very quick series for the Phillies, because if you can get through Turner, Schwarber, and Harper, and no one else plays a role offensively, and they're swinging at awful pitches, and they're biting on outside sliders, then lock it up, man. The season's over.
Kevin, I want to read a blurb from you from our old buddy Bob Cooney, who covers the Phillies for NBCSportsPhiladelphia.com. It's just a gut feeling, but it wouldn't surprise me if he finds a spot for the veteran right-hander to start one of these games, even though a 3-man rotation is doable with the schedule. That, of course, is Rob Thompson getting Aaron Nola a start. Would you do it?
I don't think so. It just depends on
what if they were up 2-1?
Situation.
What if they were up 2-1?
Where has Walker Buehler been? That would be my question. Has he pitched yet? I kind of want to see what Walker Buehler can give us, man. I mean, this is a guy who closed out the World Series last year. This is a guy that was a bona fide star on that Dodgers team, and he's got a chip on his shoulder, right?
Sure.
He's kind of ticked off on how things played out with the Dodgers and the Red Sox, and I think he has kind of a new life, a new perspective here. I kind of want to see what Walker Buehler can do. And go figure. We're even having this conversation, a couple of years after what we saw from Nola and not having Wheeler. It is wild to consider, but I kind of want to see what Walker Buehler can do if they're up 2-1 in the series.
What do you think about when you go in a managerial chess match? What do you think about both of these guys as far as strategists?
I hope Topper is just doesn't go down where he's too loyal. Like, make a good decision regardless of the after effects. Go with your gut and just say, hey, we're going to do this because we need to do this, right? Manage like you're desperate. Don't manage like you have another chance. And that's kind of how I would view it. I think a lot of people question, that let's just take, for example, how Alex Cora managed Game 1 against the Yankees, right? His viewpoint was, I've got to win tonight because I know what's next.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to give my team a chance here and take a 1-0 series lead. And I thought that was great about what he did with Crochet and Chapman. It was like, manage like there's no tomorrow. And I think Topper has to do that. I think he has to view this, especially this series, manage like there's no tomorrow and move on. Roberts has been in situations like that. Sometimes I question, do they go to the analytics a little too much? And if that could favor the Phillies, the bullpen decisions, I've kind of questioned that with the Dodgers all season. I'm okay with that. But as I mentioned, Walker Buehler, as we talk about how Aaron Nola is going to be used, let's not forget, he's got Clayton Kershaw at his disposal, a guy that is experienced and that is, I don't think phased, but a guy that has struggled in the postseason. So that plays a huge role here on how Roberts kind of managed his bullpen. The toughest part of this whole thing, I discussed the Phillies top 3. Holy cow, when you look at the Dodgers, man. The minute you feel like you could breathe after Shohei, then you got Mookie, then you got Freddie, and then after that you got Teoscar. Like, holy, good luck, man. You survived that. Now you've got to deal with Kike Hernandez, who turns into Superman in the postseason. Tommy Edman, like Max Muncy. There are so many, I think, potential spots that could really haunt the Phillies. The minute you feel like you can relax, you cannot relax. So it's really important that the Phillies match it on the bottom end of their order. I hope Bader steps up. I hope Castellanos can duplicate what he had last year. And it'd be great to see a little pop from Stott. And then maybe Marsh can carry what he did in the second half of the season.
All right, last thing, Kevin, because I can't let you go without asking an Eagles question. Does Tweetgate come to an end, at least for now, Sunday against the Broncos? Do we see a happy offensive performance, and then we can put some of this Twitter stuff to bed?
I don't know, man. The matchup is really tough because the Broncos' defense is really, really good. And I think the entire Philly fan base has to understand this. We're going through what the Chiefs have gone through for the last 4 or 5 years. We're going through what the Patriots have gone through for the first 20 years of this century, where the first month of the season, you kind of figure things out, right? Look at the success for Belichick. Belichick and the Patriots, I always thought they were geniuses because they tried a bunch of things, they tried to figure things out, and then they got better at the end of the season, right? And he could afford to do that in a bad division. Now, the Chiefs, you saw how critical everybody was because they were winning ugly over the last 4 or 5 years, and then they found their way at the end of the season. Last year, this Eagles team was 2-2, and there were a ton of questions. I was one of them, raising my voice saying, what is this offense? And then they figured it out, and they were fantastic at the end of the year. So we're 4-0 on a schedule that I thought they would have been 2-2 against teams that are 9-3-1 when you take out facing the Eagles. They face the toughest part of their schedule, and they're 4-0. And their offensive line is not healthy. Their guards, Beckton's not there. Dickerson's not going to be 100% all year. And, listen, it's another year of attrition. They played a ton of football games. The pressure, I think, is on Patullo to find a way to get creative routes for A.J. Brown, and Jalen Hurts has to kind of let it loose a little bit. I didn't say a lot. He's been very smart and careful with the football. You got to let it loose a little bit with A.J. Brown. A.J.'s not going to win the one-on-one with his speed. He's going to win the one-on-one because of his power and his hands, as we saw in that second half against the Rams. Let loose a little bit. And I want to acknowledge one thing, guys. I want to acknowledge Saquon Barkley, because you talk about a guy that's coming off a 2,000-yard season, is fully aware of what is going on with this offense, and he can't get off yet. And he does and says everything right as a leader in the locker room and outside the locker room, regardless of the situation, because he understands that they're 4-0 and he sees the big picture. So Saquon's got to get a ton of credit. He is the leader, along with Jordan Mailata, on handling a lot of things internally and outside. And I just think that sometimes that we overlook some of the things that we do have and focus on, and let's just move on. And if they come out of this game with a loss, just keep in mind, man, that the Broncos defense is really, really, really good. I just want to see some signs from that OC to create some separation for A.J. Brown.
Kevin, you're the man. We appreciate it. Good luck tomorrow, because we know your eyeballs will be going in like 75,000 different directions.
He'll be fine. There's no Phillies game at the time, but then it gets later.
Okay.
But then when it gets later, and he gets tired.
Yeah,
because
there'll be a Phillies game right towards the back end of Game 2 on their ABC schedule, and then it'll be, full meltdown for me while Miami and Florida State are playing on ABC.
Exactly.
Kev, you're the man, brother. Enjoy yourself, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, brother.
Fellas, be good.
There he is, Kevin Negandhi from ESPN. All right, coming up next, picks.
Hey guys, Andrew Salciunas, host of Kincade and Salciunas. Just want to thank you for checking out all of our great videos that we have on our YouTube channel every single day. Make sure, if you can, please like and subscribe and check out all the videos that we have on our YouTube channel, whether it's for us, Kincade and Salciunas, of course, our midday show, as well as Unfiltered with Bill and Ricky.